What's going on, YouTube, man? So like a quick little update. So the summer semester is finally over. I finished all of my tests, all of my assignments, all of the final exams. I ended the semester with 3 A's. I only took 3 courses and I had 3 A's. So that's a highly successful summer semester for any student. The summer camp was also a success. Everybody passed their math classes, and for an engineer student, passing your math class should be your #1 priority. Now, in this video, I'm gonna talk about how to deal with old folk. I'm gonna explain everything about that starting now. Okay, so let's get a little to the background. Like, what started me to think about dealing with old folk? So me, like, I'm gonna tell y'all this, man. If you under 35, and that's majority of y'all watching this channel, you really don't know how to deal with older people, because either you're dealing with people rude, or you don't know how to deal with people at all, so you just be quiet and do what they say. Or you're just one of those people that's trying to navigate a little bit in between, like when to actually say something and speak up, and how to actually say something and speak up and actually get your point across without coming off as rude and offensive, with a little bit of standoffish. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of us are just like that. And I know that because I deal with those type of people every single day, and I had to overcome that as well. So how do I deal with old folk? It's gonna be a little series, right? A series of steps I take in order to get my point across. Okay, boom. So I go into the conversation like already in my mind thinking I'm gonna have to listen and then speak, right? And so what that means is I'm gonna have to, like, if somebody talking to me and I already know this is a bad conversation, let's just go ahead and set the scenario. Somebody approaches me and they say, hey, I think we need to talk. Now, first off, I need to make sure that I'm in the headspace to talk, because a lot of times people that's older than us, they don't like to give us our space to recollect ourselves and be ready to actually have that conversation. So if I'm not ready to have that conversation, I'm gonna say, you know what I'm saying, let's schedule this for 2 p.m. on Tuesday, and I have time to gather up my thoughts and write down things that I want to bring to the conversation or not. Now, a lot of people don't want to, you know what I'm saying, give yourself time to recollect yourself. Try to get yourself time to recollect yourself. I promise you, because you're going to be glad that you actually got to say exactly what you wanted to say and not just speaking off emotions. A lot of people speak off of emotions, and that's why their effective communication definitely does be lacking, especially when they're talking to people who's over them, below them, subordinates, peers, whatever. You got to make sure that your thoughts and your thought process is good before the actual conversation happens. Okay, cool. So we got the 2 o'clock on Tuesday. Now what? So then I always like to start it off with this. Okay, is this me versus you, like us versus each other, or is it going to be us versus the problem? Now, the reason why I always ask that question is because a lot of people are going to say, of course, it's just us versus the problem. I want them to say that out loud, because I don't want people to think like everything I'm saying to them is personal. It's not necessarily personal. It's just that I need to say what I need to say in order to get my point across effectively. All right, cool. So now it's us versus the problem. Now I let somebody explain to me what the problem is, and then I'm going to explain to them the solution. Because you're not coming to me with the problem and you're not going to expect me to have a solution. Now, I'll give you a prime example. Let's just say you put a hole in your wall, right? And then your wife, girlfriend, whoever comes down and says, hey, you put a hole in the wall, you put a hole in the wall. And so now the first thing I'm going to be thinking, I'm going to be like, man, all right, cool. I put this hole in the wall. First, you got to apologize. The reason why I always say apologize, because the person that apologizes first, it kind of like you disarming the other person. It's like, please calm down. Talk to me as a human being. I'm sorry. You know what I'm saying? If that's your wife, tell her you love her, something like that. And then you just go ahead and end it right there. That way, the tone of the conversation went from 10 to about a good 6. And then you'll go ahead and say, I get on it as soon as possible, or right now. Then that brings the tone of it to about a 4 or 3. So like, I do that even on the job. On the job, it's like they have so many problems. So I come with solutions and how I'm going to actually rectify that problem with my solution and when I'm going to do it. I always give people a timeline. Now, I'll give you an example of me dealing with somebody old here at Tuskegee right now. Okay, boom. So somebody had a problem with me the way I talked to them. So like, they was like, you know what I'm saying, I don't like the way you talk to me. Now, they didn't say that to me directly. That's their first fault. Like, you always want to handle your problems at the lowest level possible. So they went to go get a, you know what I'm saying, an immediate supervisor or something. So the immediate supervisor comes up to me and says, hey, so-and-so has a problem with you, but they don't necessarily say the person's name. So I said, okay, ma'am, before we get started with this conversation, let's take a step back. Is this me versus you or us versus the problem? And she says, well, I wasn't there. I'm just a supervisor. So it's really just us versus the problem. I say, okay, so I just want you to know I didn't know there was a problem. So could we have the other person come in and talk to me so I could apologize to them face to face while having you here as a mediator? She says, no, that's against our policy. I say, okay, ma'am. So how about this? Can you please go tell that person I'm extremely sorry for anything I said to them that might be rude, and it will never happen again. And then bam, guys, that's the end of the conversation, because if you weren't rude to nobody and you didn't know you was being rude to somebody, apologize anyway, because people always be having these underlying feelings hurt. You know what I'm saying? Hit dogs be hollering. Whatever the case they be going through, it is what it is. So I always make sure I apologize, and I just say, if I do offend this person again, please have them come to me. That way they can explain to me what I'm doing so I can never do it again. Our thing is we don't want to offend people. You know what I'm saying? Like, because a lot of us have these mannerisms about ourselves that we don't even know if we offended somebody. So always keep that in mind. So when dealing with old folks, I always try to establish, is this us versus us? Or me versus you, or us versus the problem? And likely it's going to be us versus the problem. Then I apologize for whatever they might have feel like is wrong. And I don't say that. I don't say, well, if you feel this way, then I'm sorry. I just say, I'm sorry. You know what I'm saying? I just keep it just like that. And then they'll say their piece, and then I say my piece, and I try to rectify that situation as smooth, as quick as possible. You know what I'm saying? It's an old saying that's saying that a wise man has 0 enemies. Like, you don't want to have enemies running around, lurking around. That way you looking over your shoulder every single day, every single moment. You know what I'm saying? You always want to keep everybody, you know what I'm saying, on the level. You know what I'm saying? And I always tell people this: please do not disrespect me just because of my age. You know what I'm saying? I don't want you to feel like you could disrespect me. We're going to always talk this out, and we're always going to talk about it. Like, I do face to face with people often, because it's practice. A lot of people don't like to face their problems. And so if there's a problem that you have in your life, try to face it. Try to face it head on each and every time, because at the end of the day, that's gonna help you be a successful leader, in my opinion. Successful leaders know how to communicate good and bad news to anybody they're leading, or even if a leader is being led, they still got to be able to communicate and accept discipline, accept change, and then move forward. Hopefully this video helps somebody out, man. YouTube, I appreciate you guys. I will let you know when fall semester starts. We just doing what we got to do to graduate on time, and I'll catch you guys next video. Peace.